Former Manchester United captain Ashley Young, our special guest tonight. Keep saying former Manchester United player, but you're still very much a current Everton player in your 21st season of professional football, Ashley. 709 career appearances. That is extraordinary. That's Carragher territory. You just completed your 650th English club appearance. That was on Friday night. 3 major trophies with Manchester United, including the Premier League title, the last under Sir Alex Ferguson. And I think you were the 3rd Englishman to win Serie A. Yeah. Did that with Inter Milan under Antonio Conte, PFA Young Player of the Year, 2008-09, and a really good England career as well. 39 caps, 2 major tournaments. I think you scored 3 times at Wembley as well, in an England shirt, and some people might need reminding that it was only 6 years ago you were a World Cup semi-finalist. You were the England left-back in the World Cup semi-final. Bet you didn't see that coming when you made your debut as a flying right-winger at the age of 18.
Definitely not. When people speak to me about playing left-back or playing left wing-back or right-back, if they had said that to me years ago when I was playing right-wing or left-wing, I would have never said that. I would have ended up that far back. But it happened, and like you say, I went to a World Cup playing as a left wing-back, and I think he come under Louis van Gaal when he was at Manchester United, and I don't know if we had injuries or whatnot, but you know, he used me there as in training, and just wanted me to show him what I could do, and what I knew how to obviously play the game. I've got a good footballing brain. I know where to be on the pitch, and you know, maybe it's given me longevity in my career.
Certainly did. We had a little sneak preview of baby Ashley making his professional debut for Watford. Look at this. How did you end up in that shirt?
It's a short sleeve shirt as well. I don't know how I've ended up in that. Maybe the kit man just said, "Oh, just take that." And at them ages there, you just put the kit on, and you're just excited to get out on the pitch. You know, coming on for my first professional game and scoring my debut with all my family up in the crowd was...
It doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Can I tell you a story about it's really interesting? I watch a lot of football. My dad watches a lot of football, and he likes to sort of spot people before the... And I always remember him saying, Watford have got one about you. Yeah. You know, playing, he'd watch maybe a Friday night football game or a game that you'd played, and he still saw... I told you about Ashley Young, didn't I? I told you.
There you go, he was right.
So get him on the scouting team.
Yeah, exactly.
We spotted you early.
If he spotted me early, you need to get hold of him. So.
Did you feel, even in these early days, when you were so young, that you were different, that you perhaps did stand out?
You know, I always, from these ages now, when you know you see these clips here, I knew that I had talent. I was confident in my own ability, and you know, I knew what I could do on the football pitch. I always had the ambition as well. I was an ambitious person to want to go and play at the top and test myself at the top. But you know, my roots and my grounding from playing at Watford, learning from the managers, you know, that I played under. You know, it was just to go out there and, you know, experience everything that I did at Watford and just grow as a young man at the time into what, you know, was to come. Did some of that ambition, some of that competitive instinct come from your family? We've been lucky enough to meet a couple of them tonight. It definitely did, and you know, that competitive nature is still there in the family. There's a few of them off camera right now, but you know, there was so much competition, and you know, we always talk about playing football in the house, and Mum wanting to kill us because we used to break every single ornament in the house. I remember gluing a duck back together and trying to blame it on my younger brother, but you know, she'll probably kill me for that. I said it weren't me, it was my younger brother.
You know, the move to Villa comes, and that's really sort of, you get onto the scene at the top level. Who else? Was there anybody else sniffing at the time, or opportunities to go anywhere else?
There was. I went down to actually talk to West Ham. Alan Curbishley was the manager then. And I spoke to them then, but, you know, I then heard of the interest from Aston Villa and Martin O'Neill. And I went to go and meet him, and, you know, the man himself, the aura he has was unbelievable. And
can you remember what he said to you?
He basically told me I was going to come there and he'd make me a player. So I was like, well, OK, I'm in. But it was just the way that he had the Aston Villa team at the time, the players that were there. It was just everything as a youngster that I thought I'd be better going to Aston Villa than going to West Ham at the time. And for me, it worked wonders. And Martin O'Neill was fantastic for me.
It was a good team, the Villa team. I'm thinking of the play. You know, Milner was... I mean, there was talk about, like, I think Martin O'Neill spent a lot of money on some players, but he all went for big money after. He really, propelled a lot of these, didn't he?
Yeah, he was fantastic for, like I always say, for midfielders and forwards. He used to give us he just used to say, go and play, go and enjoy yourself. Whereas he didn't really say that to the defenders there to do their jobs. But, for us, we did have great teams, and, I say we had success, but for me, when I signed at the club, Randy Lerner was the owner, and he said that we could break into the top four. And I think 3 seasons in a row we finished 6th, and like I said, we had great squads, but we just didn't have a big enough squad at the times. So when it come round to March, April times, you could see the team was tired because they played that many games, and it was unfortunate that we weren't able to break into the top 4 into the Champions League, but. It was great. Like you say, there's so many great players there, and it was fantastic to be able to work underneath them.
I mean, that's really unprecedented for Aston Villa. It's only now that they're breaking back into those kind of levels again. Because it fell away, was that why the team, the league form fell away? Did that come first, or was it because the players started to disappear for bigger things?
I think it was the league form. That's where it first started. And then, obviously, you've got ambition as players. And I was there for, 5 years. When I was there for so long, it was, talking to Martin O'Neill, talking to Randy Lerner to say, well, the ambition of the club is to break that top 4. We're not able to do that. And then when you're playing well, I was playing well for season after season. Like I say, winning PFA Young Player of the Year, getting in Team of the Years, you have more and more ambition. You then start hearing of other teams being interested, and then you start thinking, do you know what? Maybe time is right now. Martin O'Neill then left, Gerard Houllier come in, and then it was one of the things where I spoke to Randy Lerner, and like before the season I left, and he pretty much begged me to stay for my last season, and he said, listen, if we don't do anything this season, then you've got my blessing to go. And to be fair, he was exactly right with what he said, and I got so much respect for him, and he had respect for me to even call me to come over to speak to me and sit down with me. So, we weren't able to get Aston Villa to where we thought we could have gone, and then it was obviously being able to move from there.
To Manchester United. So when did you first learn of their interest?
I heard of their interest literally the season before I left Aston Villa.
I tapped you up.
No, there's no tapping up. Definitely not. I had heard of the interest, and you hear from your agent talking about the interest, and there was interest from others as well. I'll tell you who did try and tap me up. Stevie tried to tap me up.
Did he?
Yeah, he did. He rang me.
What was his pitch like? Not good enough?
It was like, are you leaving? I was like, yeah, I'm leaving Aston Villa. And it was, I think you should come to Liverpool. And I was like, yeah, I'll come back to you. I'd already spoke to United by that time, and I was already going there, so sorry, Stevie. But, I spoke to Man City as well at the time. But for me, the factor of going to Manchester United was the size of the club, was, as I call the boss now, Sir Alex. It was the pull, and being able to go and sit and speak to him, he was the one that got me to the club. It was everything I wanted to hear to go and play for that.
Where did that happen, that first meeting with Sir Alex?
The Landmark Hotel. And I spoke to him in London. Me and my agent went, and to be honest, the meeting probably lasted about 2 hours. For the first half hour, we spoke about football. For the hour and a half after that, him and my agent spoke about wine and horses. So I was just sat there, just in awe of the man that they were talking.
Well, listen, we hear Gary's on the show. Obviously, we hear all the Ferguson stories about the motivation, the hairdryer treatment, whatever it may be. What was it like from a tactical point of view in terms, you've just said Martin O'Neill just let you go and play. How was Alex Ferguson in terms of sort of how he wanted you to play and what he wanted from you?
He was similar to, like I say, Martin O'Neill, but it was more so the boss's man management skills, how he knew how to keep a whole squad happy. Whereas, there's times where players are not playing, they're unhappy, but he was able to keep the whole squad happy. He would talk to them players, and he would know his teams for the month, and he'd be like, son, listen, put his arm around you and say to you, I need you ready for this game, make sure you're ready. The tactical side of things, we didn't really do too much tactical work. There was only certain games that teams we played against that we would then do tactical work, but it wasn't really wasn't really needed. You know, it was possessions, it was small-sided games. It was about obviously wanting to work hard, run for each other, fight for each other. Even there was times in games where it could have been 0-0, and we'd get to the 85th minute, and he'd be saying on the sideline, we'd get a chance, and we'd always be able to go on and produce and get that goal.
Would he be the best manager that you played under,
Yeah.
would you say?
Yeah. And
why?
I'd say without a doubt, because of the man management skills, he knew his teams, he knew how to deal with every player, whether it was they needed a hairdryer, whether it was they needed an arm around his shoulder.
What did you need?
Just an arm around my shoulder, I think.
Oh,
I think there's only two players that didn't get the hairdryer, and that was me and Darren Fletcher. I think there might be other players previous to my time, but yeah, at them times I just knew that, you know, I didn't need telling what to do. I just need an arm around the shoulder. Right, son, this is what you need to do, and that was it.
Let's have a look at some of your Manchester United moments. Your first Manchester United goal, one that Arsenal fans won't remember very fondly. Bit of an Ashley Young special. One of 8 that Arsenal conceded that day.
It was, yeah, and that game there was, you know, it was phenomenal. Obviously, it went down in history and for every right reason as well. And you know, it was a trademark, to be honest, finish that, like we was talking about earlier, cutting inside and, you know, looking to bend it in the far post. And it was fantastic to get on the score sheet that day.
Of course, you went there because you wanted to win things as well. So tell us about, you know, how it felt as a player, a young man who made that journey to be part of a team that lifted the league title.
It was, you know, words can't really describe it. To be able to have that ambition as a young kid, to think about wanting to play in the Premier League, then to have it to go and actually win the Premier League I'm lost for words for it actually happening. But it was just incredible. The team that we had, the togetherness that was in that squad was sensational. And we made sure that we celebrated it properly as well when we won it for that week after. But it was great. And
that's important. But I said earlier that you played under 5 different Manchester United managers. Did you know when you went there that Sir Alex Ferguson's time might be quite short? Your time with him might be short?
No. And I don't think any of the players knew that it was going to be that short either. We obviously knew that, you know, his wife's sister wasn't well, and I can think back to the day of when he come in the dressing room and, you know, the boss never really had a meeting with us in our dressing room, and he called a meeting and everyone was like, something's not right here. We was driving in and people were talking to each other and we were saying things seem a bit odd. You heard things on radio and whatnot when we was driving in, and when he come in and, you know, he explained his reason, of course everyone understood it fully. And, you know, you knew why he was having to step aside. You know, there was how everyone's got that respect for him. There was tears in the dressing room because of obviously him leaving. Players have been with him for so long, even players that had just come in. You know, he apologised to a couple of players that had just been signed. It was tough to take. It was tough to handle, but you know, everyone knew the decision why he took it.
And Manchester United have, of course, never won the league title since then. But in your spell, if we just look at the managers that you played under, who did you feel came closest in terms of creating something?
I think that Van Gaal's time was difficult. Straight after the boss leaving, David Moyes coming in, it was going to be tough for any manager coming in, I think. And David Moyes coming from Everton to United, I think that the size of the club was tough. It was going to be tough, like I say, for any manager to come in and take over from the boss, and you know, with what he had achieved at that club, you know, it was going to be difficult. And you know, I think David Moyes did find it extremely difficult when he did come in. I think Van Gaal come in and he also found times tough. He had his way of dealing with players, which was totally different to, you know, what we'd known before. And you say it didn't work out, but we was able to win a trophy underneath him. Within the way that things panned out with him being sacked in the way that it went wasn't right at all.
Did you learn anything? What I mean by that, you've just spoken about Alex Ferguson, talking about his man management, keeping a squad together, and Van Gaal comes in who's almost completely different. He's just a coach. And when I speak to Wayne about Van Gaal, he actually speaks quite highly of the stuff he picked up and the stuff he learned. How was it for you?
I think for me it was a bit indifferent, because when he first came in, I wasn't playing, and the training was totally different to what we had known before. It was a lot more tactical, and I think if you look in the games that we played as well, the tactical side of things, if we were getting a point, if we were drawing, he'd be happier with. And the fans didn't like the way we were playing football. We weren't really playing football that the fans had known from before.
They take it now.
Yeah, they would take it now. I think so. Yeah. But it was difficult at times to. Van Gaal could set up a team not to lose, and I think at times when, you've played against the big side, you've played against the Liverpools, the Man Cities, and you've gone there to take them on to beat them, and you go there and you defend him more so. It didn't feel right.
Were you excited by Jose Mourinho?
Yeah, I think everyone was really excited by Jose coming in. You'd seen what he had done in his career. You thought, right, this is an appointment that maybe could have happened years prior to when it did. I say a little bit disappointing as to what was to come.
Why?
I just think you knew Jose from the Chelsea days, and when he went to Real, and then he's come back, and you see the style of football that was being played, and I don't think it was a style of football that suited the Man United way.
Was that something that the players talked about themselves?
Yeah, of course, players always talk, and like I say, I think it was disappointing, but even then, us as players, we could have taken on a bit more. But I think that it was difficult for any manager that was going to come in after what the boss's legacy.
But that was a long way down the line by the time it got to Jose.
It was, yeah, and I think there was too much, surrounding the club that was going on, and I think at times there was players that had been bought that, under the boss it was literally you sink or swim here, and it was difficult times where, I don't think players really gave as much as they could.
Do you see? I mean, it's interesting because we've said tonight about Erik ten Hag. I think one of your answers was it shouldn't always be on the manager. So I'd like to ask you this. So you go from sort of Ferguson, who's this god legend, but you win the league. So you obviously got a top side, but you drop. I know it's not easy for most, but you drop to 7th, and then it goes 3rd, for wherever it goes. Was there something in the dressing room you're actually looking at each other as players and thinking, we have to do more than this because we're actually better than this? It can't all be about, Alex Ferguson's not here anymore. Yeah,
and that was exactly what conversations that we were having. But at times, as players, you go out to give your all, but it just wasn't happening. And whether that be, stuff with the manager, whether that be the players, it was, ownership, whatever it is. When you go out on the pitch, you want to give your all, but tactically, maybe it was different. Maybe it wasn't, players weren't running as much, weren't working as hard, and it was difficult. And at them times, like you say, as players, you think to yourself, well, we haven't just become bad players overnight. What's going wrong? And, we could have talked about it non-stop. I think Jose said he said previous that when we finished 2nd, that was one of his greatest achievements. Or he come there and won 2 trophies. So, if that was a greatest achievement, then, I'm not sure.
This incredible relationship with you and all these great coaches continued. You got the chance to go to Inter Milan to play under Antonio Conte. You must have known what you were getting yourself into.
Well, I did, because of speaking to, obviously, a few other Chelsea players at the time, and they knew, I think everyone knows Antonio Conte. You look at him on the side of the pitch, he's shouting, he don't stop shouting and screaming from the first minute to the last minute, and he was exactly the same way in training. For me at the time, I had spoke to Ollie, and I was club captain at Manchester United. I could have stayed, but I wasn't going to play as much, and I was told that you come to Inter, you're going to play. I want you to come and play. He wanted me at Chelsea a couple of years prior to that as well, and one thing or another led to the move being blocked in the end. So I wasn't able to go. But I knew, he rang me and he said, listen, I want you to come here. This is what's going on. I want you to play. Ron rang me. Obviously, I know Ron from Manchester United. I spoke to him and said, what's it like out there? He told me exactly what the club was like. I saw the position, what the club was in, and, I thought, well, why not? I'm at this age. I want to go and experience something different. I want to keep playing. I don't want to just sit at Manchester United and, play bit parts. That's not me. I'm an ambitious person that I want to go and play, and I was given that opportunity to do so.
Not a bad image, that, is it?
It's not. It would have been better if
the fans
COVID
were there.
That
I suppose that took a little bit off it, did it?
It did. It took a little bit off the edge, but that day, having all family there, wife, mum and dad, kids, to actually then go up. It was basically the top of the San Siro, looking down. COVID wasn't there because the whole of the fan base were out, and it was. It was incredible to see. It was fantastic, and I loved my time being there. Obviously, going there and winning the league as well was something special.
As I said,
talk to us about Everton
to do that.
So you're at Everton now. How's it been? Obviously, it's been tough with the points deduction. We've mentioned all that, but inside the club, the supporters, the atmosphere at Goodison.
You've always said about Everton, the fans, the club it's massive, and I don't think you actually realise that until you're inside the club. The manager has done a fantastic job since he's got the job. Like I say, we talked about points deductions and whatnot, but everything about the club, the fans, the way they love the club, and when you're doing well, they're so behind you that you just want to go out there and do well. And it's disappointing because of how the last few years have gone for the club and where where we find ourselves. Whereas where you always look at previous teams of Everton, they're pushing towards European places, mid-table, and I can see that's where the once things happen with takeover, whatever, the manager getting everything that he's been doing to relay that onto the pitch. I can see the club going back to where it should be.
Do you think the stadium's a game changer? I mean, have you as players, have you been to look at the new stadium? I know it's almost done.
Yeah, quite a few of us have been to see the stadium, and like you're saying, you can feel how big the club actually is and where the club want to get to. With the new stadium, with, like I say, the manager, with how Kev, the sporting director's been there as well. They've all been fantastic for Everton Football Club, and the players there. There's some fantastic players there, and I've never been in dressing rooms where not just the dressing room but the staff, everybody, the way the manager has got the club together is fantastic to see and fantastic to be a part of.
We've walked you through your sort of club career from the early days at Watford all the through to the current day. Here you are at 38, still playing in the Premier League, which is extraordinary, Ashley, it really is. But when you think about your sort of most proud moments, where does playing for England, starting for England in a World Cup semi-final feature?
Probably up there with the proudest moments. When you're able to, put on the England shirt and say you've represented your country, it's phenomenal. Again, it's words can't describe, but to then go to a World Cup and be starting at the World Cup at my young age. It was fantastic, but also disappointing, because I think that you look back at how unbelievable we were able to, I think, galvanise the country, because we obviously, when you're away in Russia, you see the videos of how everything is back in England, and at previous tournaments, and I'm sure Jamie would say as well, everyone always thinks that England they're not going to be able to do well at a tournament, whereas Gareth has been fantastic for the national side as well. And like I say, we galvanised a country to actually get behind us. And also, it was the press as well that actually were on our side and were behind us and gave us that impetus to go and do as well as we could. But, like I say, the disappointment was obviously getting to the semi-final. And, I think we was a bit naive in the game. And like I say, thinking back to it, there was a lot of naivety in that game. And on a different day, I think we could have won that game and got ourselves to a final, and then anything could have happened.
could indeed. We were all certainly on your side, and we still are. Keep on going for as long as you possibly can, Ashley.
Will do.
Ashley, you've had an absolutely fantastic career. You should be really proud of what you've achieved, and long may it continue. And one other point I want to make just before we go, it's about my local team. Can I just mention them?
Go on then.
Marine got promoted to, from the playoffs to the National League North. So well done, Marine, and well done, Ash. Great career.
Thank you.
You want to say hello to anyone else while you're still here?
No,
They were all here. They've all been here.
They've all been here. They was all here already.
Hello to my mum and
Yes,
dad.
our Chinese.
Thank you. Thank you for everything. And it was great they found an England shirt your size as well, so that was a bonus. Ashley's been a delight tonight, so thank you very much to Ashley Young, and this season is not done.